Welcome to the 5 levels of meal prep. Meal preparation is a key factor in your success within your nutrition strategy. There are 5 basic levels. We're going to cover the pros and cons so that you can select the best one to facilitate your nutrition journey. First of all, what is meal prep? For the uninitiated, it's basically having a meal plan set either for the week or a couple days in advance, with the idea of minimizing your time in the kitchen, minimizing the variability of your intake, maximizing your nutrition output by leaving fewer things to chance. Oftentimes, this is also a very good time and money saving strategy because once you get good at it, it costs far less and takes way less time than even just going and grabbing a local burrito. Okay, what's the first level? Well, the first level naturally is no meal prep at all. Of course, we have to set a baseline somewhere. Well, the pros of doing no meal prep is that you don't have to anything to think about. That's pretty much it. But the downsides are actually quite enormous. First of all, anything that you buy in a restaurant is going to be maximally structured for tasting good, which is usually going to be maximally structured for being terrible for you. It's also far more expensive than just buying the raw ingredients yourself and making it at home. Then from there, the odds of you randomly going out to lunch and getting a sandwich here or a burrito there or sitting down at some restaurant and being able to fit it into your macronutrient or nutrition strategy is basically zero. It's highly advised that you don't let this be your nutrition strategy. Level 2 is a meal prep service. So meal prep services are a huge level up from just grabbing lunch in a few key ways. First of all, they're usually prioritized towards tasting relatively good, but then also being very good for your health. Nearly all of them are marketed as healthful options as one of the benefits of using their service. They're macro balanced, they're calorically balanced, they're portion controlled. They have generally your health and metabolism in mind. They're also usually super convenient. You either click something on a menu or you order some stuff and you pull it out of the fridge. There's not a whole lot to think about. And these days, there's many competing offerings, and they usually taste pretty good, and they're usually pretty high quality. Generally, they get portioned correctly, so you're not over or under eating. It can be a very effective strategy if you have a straightforward goal, such as, well, I need to lose a little bit of weight. The downside is usually you have little control over your menu. These are your 8 options, take it or leave it. And that might be somewhat limited to fit your taste. You might find 8 things, none of which sound particularly enjoyable. Some of them also preserve better than others. There's fresh options, there's frozen options, there's ones that are made on Sunday and delivered to you. There's ones that you generally assemble yourselves. Those are going to keep differentially in the near and long term. Overall, this is going to be your priciest option as well. You're basically outsourcing the selection, the preparation, and the decision making of what the food's going to be and how much of it to make. And so usually you're looking at about $9 to $13 per meal, but that's almost certainly going to be as good as just going out and grabbing lunch anyway. So the overall upside is really, really high. Level 3 is leftovers. Yep, just good old-fashioned leftovers. This might be the best intersection of low-level planning. That is, you have to eat dinner anyway, and all you're doing is just making more of that dinner, while being low cost and minimal maintenance and thoughts to continue. You rarely run the risk of having 4-day-old food in front of you that you're not really sure about eating. All you really have to do is commit to eating what you made last night the next day, and you pretty much 100% control the menu because theoretically what you made for dinner is something you enjoy eating, and you just eat it one more time the next day. The downside is you're always chasing one day ahead. So miss a day and it can be very easy to get derailed. Now you don't have a lunch option. Or if you make something that doesn't reheat particularly well, like vegetables that get kind of gross and soggy, or fish that's stinking up your office, that can be a little bit tricky to manage when you're trying to include a variety of dinner options that preserve for a next day meal. And then there's just sometimes you don't make enough and you got this tiny little portion and you're left hungry, or maybe you don't have anything at all. In general, this is where I'd recommend people start with their meal prep if you are newer to the whole system. The stakes are low, the skills required are low, the planning is low, the maintenance is low, and it's leveraging and stacking on behaviors that you do already. Level 4 is a full week of meal prep, but the menu stays the same. So on Sunday or Monday or whatever your day 1 of your week is, you basically make a big pot of food and then portion that out for the remainder of the week. You essentially end up eating the same thing for lunch, for instance, for 5 days in a row. The pros here are huge. It is by far the cheapest option. It's also a very low amount of effort considering how much time it takes to procure, prepare, make, contain, and then eat the food. It's a very low amount of time once you get good at the process. Also, you control the menu, you control the portions, and you have a whole plan for the week. So as long as you're committed to eating those things for lunch, you have basically one meal on complete lockdown. The downside is if you get bored of eating the same thing over and over again, it's probably not something you're going to stick with. Also, if you get grossed out looking at it day 3, knowing it's been in the fridge for 3 days, you might not stick with it. Also, if you end up making too much, you might end up wasting some food. To be perfectly upfront, this is where I live. This is the place where I succeed the most. This level of meal prep has worked for me for years and years on end, allowing me to retain leanness year-round for a very long period of time. If you can get through that short list of cons, to me, this is the strongest overall option to continue long-term and maintain on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year basis. Level 6 is a full week of prep, but with a varied menu. So in level 5, you're basically preparing one whole week, same menu. Process is the same in level 6, but you're going to prepare each meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or a select meals, breakfast and lunch, whatever the case may be, with a varied menu each day of the week. Now the pros are pretty high. You get a lot of variety. You control exactly what the menu is. You control exactly what the macros are. Because it's varied, you're less likely to get bored. And you can also plan the things that you need to eat earlier in the week that maybe don't keep as well versus the things later in the week that'll be totally fine in the fridge for a couple extra days. The downside is the price tends to go up because you have to buy a lot more variety of ingredients and the time commitment is much higher. Prepping a different meal for every day, 5 days a week, some people say they spend 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, basically a whole Sunday, attending to their meal prep. You're also left with, what should I make for each of these meals? There's a lot of work, there's a lot of contemplation, but you have maximum flexibility and you have maximum control over your inputs. Those are the biggest trade-offs. So those are all the levels. Personally, I've lived between level 2 and 4. So that is the leftovers, the meal prep service, and the weekly menu for a really long time. I don't always do the same thing, and I shake it up every once in a while, but I can attest that all of these are very effective in their own right. It's about finding the solution that is best for you, your goals, your time commitment, your budget, and so forth. The one thing I can say with absolute certainty is those that have a meal prep strategy have a much higher chance of success. Those that leave it to chance do not do nearly as well. So I encourage you to adopt one of these strategies, give it a shot, and hopefully that gets you one step closer to all of your fitness and nutrition goals. Thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful.